replicate the habit that consumers had shown on TV, replicate that habit onto a mobile world. And I think the habit creation on mobile for a brand like Voot, which is very clearly a digital first business, has happened on the back of 3 C's: control, convenience and customization. And what we saw at scale was 10x the levels of engagement.
Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of InMobi's Mobile Monday, where we talk about leading brands leveraging mobile. In this episode of our Thought Leadership video series, we have with us Akash Banerji, Senior Vice President and Head of Marketing, Partnerships, Growth, Licensing at Voot. Hello Akash, it's great to have you on InMobi's Mobile Monday.
Thank you for having me.
2018 has been a great year for mobile. More than 50% of all digital ad spends have been on mobile. Now, as a digital native and a mobile-first company to an extent, what do you think is the biggest contribution of mobile in building brand Voot in India?
Immensely is a short and simple answer. Look, Voot is the digital representation of the entire Viacom 18 network. And when we were launching Voot, we were very clear about one thing as a huge goal, as a huge ambition for us, which was in its ability to replicate the habit that consumers had shown on TV, replicate that habit onto a mobile world. And if we were able to do that, we told ourselves that we would actually call ourselves to have done something really incredible, to have really done something successful. And I think the habit creation on mobile for a brand like Voot, which is very clearly a digital first business, has happened on the back of 3 C's: control, convenience and customization. Increasingly, consumers very clearly want to entirely control their consumption, their viewing consumption pattern on the kind of content, to the kind of devices and the time and the place when they want to see the content. Convenience happens because you don't need to necessarily wait for the content to come at a certain time. It happens at the click of a button on your mobile screen, and the content is streaming right in front of you. And you can obviously keep on switching from one content to the other depending on what your mood is currently. But I think the third big thing which has really been a great enabler has been the customization / personalization. It is no more a one-to-many streaming behavior which happens on TV. It's mobile. What it really does to you is a one-on-one consumer interaction, right? So you will get to see what you want to see. And that we feel has been hugely been made possible on a mobile screen, because the mobile screen carries with you wherever you want to be, right? And the 3 C's together has actually managed to create a huge habit on the mobile devices. And on Voot, for example, we very clearly see close to 50 minutes of watch time per day per viewer. And that's a obnoxious number, on a small screen, where 3 years back, people would have had never imagined that they could see a number as high as that.
Now, we've mentioned a bit about how mobile has played a crucial role, and there are certain facets to it that actually enable a lot of convenience and on-demand real-time personalization. Now, is there a campaign that you've done for Voot and it's really close to your heart that you would like to talk about today?
Look, one of the big things, that we had done last year was the DCO, which is the Dynamic Creative Optimization, right? Which came in from a very simple data point which showed, so we have 50,000 hours of content, okay? And there is, of course, few hero content pieces which will of course generate the maximum consumption. But there's a long tail of content from the library which are not even running right now on TV, content possibly even I would not be aware of, but fans and consumers who had watched those shows earlier, or consumers of today who want to see the show basis some kind of a memory or some kind of a discoverability that they may have done on Google and YouTube, they ended up coming to the platform and started watching the long tail. So to give you a certain number, more than 50% of our entire library of content pieces was getting seen and viewed by consumers every day. But what was happening from a marketing point of view is that we would only be pushing the top 5-10 hero content pieces. And we went back to the drawing board and we said, and we questioned ourselves, that if more and more consumers are wanting to watch the long tail, why are we only pushing the hero content pieces? But for us to do justice, to create collaterals, to create creatives and to start promoting them, promoting some 100, 200, 300 odd shows was an extremely manually intensive process. And we did some calculation. For us to do justice and start manually creating those pieces of communication would have had taken more than 10 years to do that. So we completely automated the entire process. What we did, we created a product feed of the entire content that's available on Voot. We created a template where a show name, a show logo, certain communication pieces were put on the template. And whenever a consumer will come onto a platform and he might end up seeing Balika Vadhu, which happened 10 years back, the optimizer or the dynamic creative creator would create those templates of Balika Vadhu, which, where the templates have already been pre-fed with the necessary information that needs to be given to the consumers. And that was very clearly and seamlessly flown into the entire demand side platforms, wherever the consumers might be moving around outside the Voot platform. So remarketing happening at scale. So we started working with the DBM, and then of course we started replicating that onto many more platforms where those standalone creatives, which otherwise would have had taken close to 9 to 10 years for us to create, were now automatically being created, automatically being generated, and automatically were being targeted to a personalized through a personalized way to that specific fan of that content piece. And what we saw at scale was 10x the levels of engagement for those specific set of creatives, because now a Balika Vadhu fan was being shown a Balika Vadhu creative and not a Big Boss creative and not a Roadies creative. And of course, I think internally what it really ended up doing was saving hours and hours of man time, otherwise which in a very, very realistic scenario would have never been possible.